Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.show.com. That's thetavismiley.show.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first, there is new data which suggests that attending an HBCU versus a PWI might be better for your brain health. HBCU, you know. PWI, you know. Predominantly white institution like the one I went to at Indiana University. But the data says that going to an HBCU might be better for your brain health. We'll talk with the author of that study, Dr. Marilyn Thomas, on the top side of hour two. Now they tell me. On the B side of hour two, Neil Maher, professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology and Rutgers University-Newark, unpacks the complicated relationship between America's space race and the civil rights movement as Artemis II is piloted back to Earth this week by a black astronaut. He's a Sigma, I think. I ain't mad at him. In our third hour, the Hollywood husband and wife team of Sonequa Martin Green and David Ajala talk about their work and their love. David has a new role on Law & Order, and Sonequa stars in Boston Blue, so we'll talk to this black Hollywood couple in our third and final hour today. But let's commence today's show talking politics and more with conservative CNN contributor and co-founder of We, the Free TV streaming network, our friend and brother, Shermichael Singleton. Shermichael, how are you, sir?
Hey, Tavis, I am doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, they're working you like a Hebrew slave. I just saw you on CNN. Here you are today on our
As,
show. So I
as
am.
long as they keep paying me.
I ain't mad at you, man. I ain't mad at you. Everybody knows what happened last night, what didn't happen. The minute that the announcement was made in the 11th hour that Trump was not going to wipe out an entire civilization, my phone started pinging like crazy because on this program yesterday, and I ain't one to say I told you so, but I'm going to tell you that I told you Trump was looking for an off-ramp. And I predicted yesterday that the off-ramp would be in the 11th hour, and it was literally in the 11th hour. Some announcement that there are progress in talks about the ceasefire. But Trump, with all that bluster and all that bloviating, really wanted a way out of this, was looking for an off-ramp. And so we'll talk about that in this hour. There's so many, tentacles on this particular story that we're going to work our way through with Shermichael Singleton. I suspect one or two things we'll agree on, other things we won't agree on, and that's okay. He's my friend, my brother, and I want to hear his perspective on this, and you're going to hear mine, obviously. But I want to start with this. If you are a subscriber to the New York Times, particularly there's a piece they put out every day called The Morning. They highlight major stories in the Times. I want you to you can follow me if you have it. But I want to read just a few paragraphs to frame this conversation from the New York Times today, primarily because there's a new book coming from two reporters at the Times, namely Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. So there are two reporters at the Times who have a book coming out, and the book is called, let me jump ahead right quick because I want to read this for you. What is the name of the book here? The book is called Regime Change: Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump. That is the forthcoming text from Maggie and Jonathan. Regime Change: Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump. But here's some breaking news that the Times pushes out today regarding this new book that is about to drop. Let me just read now from the New York Times. Why we are at war. Why we are at war. This piece is written by Sam Sifton. Sam Sifton is the guy that curates the morning read for the New York Times. So Sam is writing this morning in his language, in his words, why we're at war. My colleagues Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, who report on the White House, have uncovered new details about why, with little opposition from his closest aides, Trump attacked Iran in the first place. The pitch came from Israel in the Situation Room. Netanyahu made an hour-long presentation to Trump and his senior advisors on February the 11th arguing that a joint U.S.-Israeli campaign could destroy Iran's missile capabilities, force regime change, and bring down the Islamic Republic. Sounds good to me, the president said. The next morning, U.S. intelligence officials questioned the plan. Kill the Ayatollah? Sure. Cripple Iran's capacity to threaten its neighbors? Absolutely. But a popular uprising? A secular leader installed to govern the country? They found that detached from reality. The director of the CIA called the scenario farcical. Trump thought, though, the campaign would be quick and decisive. Previous victories filled Trump with confidence. He pointed to Iran's muted response to the U.S. bombing of its nuclear facilities in June and the hasty seizure of the Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in January, an operation during which no American lives were lost. Tucker Carlson called the president to ask how he could be sure that everything would be okay in Iran. Because it always is, Trump replied. Trump's decision was gut-driven and driven by Trump's gut alone. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was enthusiastic about striking Tehran, of course, but Trump's more equivocal advisors, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, his Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and General Dan Kane, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, did not push back on Trump's plan. His Director of National Intelligence and Treasury Secretary weren't even part of the final discussion. Vice President J.D. Vance told the president, "You know I think this is a bad idea, but if you want to do it, I'll support you." There you have some of the backstory for how this came to be in the first place. Some of that stuff we knew, but it is arresting to hear what actually happened inside the Situation Room, that Bibi Netanyahu came and made that pitch directly, and that Donald Trump fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And nobody in his administration stopped him. And this is the mess we find ourselves in because Trump, just born of his gut, started this mess. That's new reporting today from the two reporters at the Times, Maggie and Jonathan, whose book again is coming out soon, called Regime Change Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump. Now, with that said, Shermichael's here for the hour. I'm glad I have him. And there's a lot to unpack about what Donald Trump threatened yesterday, about what actually happened. Somebody called it a near miss. I'm not sure I'd call it a near miss. It's a bit more than that for me. But it didn't go down last night. Thank God for Jesus. But what does it mean? And these next 2 weeks, what are we expecting? And there's so many questions. And hopefully Shermichael has some answers or at least some thoughts about these questions. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
Can we just talk?
Tavis Smiley.
You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavisTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavisTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that catch-up.
Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by smart justice because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Shermichael Singleton of CNN. Before I cut him loose for the hour, 2 more small pieces. Shermichael, thanks for your patience. As you can imagine, need to just frame this hour and this whole show today based on this being the news of the hour, news of the day, news of the world. 2 more framing pieces, and then I'll let Shermichael go. Donald Trump, for his part, had well, let me do this first, Miles. Give me this first clip of this is CBS News. I quoted from the New York Times earlier. This is CBS News coverage of Iranians reacting to the ceasefire. Just some sound that CBS News pushed out last night about what happened in the aftermath of the ceasefire being announced.
In Iran, the celebration started immediately. Regime supporters gloating over what they see as a clear victory. State television put it this way. The enemy, that is the U.S. and Israel, has suffered an undeniable, historic, and crushing defeat. But along with the triumphalism, there's skepticism. Everyone is grateful for calm, said this man, but the party we're talking to is not trustworthy at all. In other words, there's widespread fear that the U.S. will just use the ceasefire to regroup and attack again. Even after the announcement, Israel's defense system intercepted at least 2 inbound Iranian missiles, Iran's parting shot after more than 5 weeks of war. A war that Israel's still fighting in Lebanon against the Iranian proxy militia Hezbollah. Overnight, its warplanes attacked a cafe in the city of Sidon. 8 people died. Even though the Pakistani brokers of the ceasefire explicitly said it would cover Israel's offensive in Lebanon, the Israeli Prime Minister's office this morning has said it does not.
That's CBS News reporting on what the mood was like in Iran after the ceasefire was announced. One final piece here, I quote now from Donald Trump on his Truth Social post today, not long ago. A big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Likewise, so has everyone else. The United States of America will be helping with the traffic buildup in the Strait of Hormuz. There will be lots of positive action. Big money will be made. Iran can start the reconstruction process. We'll be loading up with supplies of all kinds and just hanging around in order to make sure that everything goes well. I feel confident that it will. Just like we are experiencing in the U.S., this could be the golden age of the Middle East, President Donald J. Trump. Shermichael, because you've been so patient and I put so much out there, there is no initial question. Just jump as you will, and I will follow you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's a bit of wishful thinking on the president's part. In an ideal world, sure, it would be great if we could stabilize the region. I mean, the Middle East has significant economic opportunity. And you look at the Middle East historically speaking, I mean, these are culture of people who've invented some of the best sciences and mathematics known to humanity. And so there is a lot, I would argue, to be derived out of a peaceful and free Middle East, particularly starting with Iran being the former Persian Empire. Just brilliant, brilliant people, not to get into history. That said, though, Tavis, if you listened to the press conference recently held by the Secretary of Defense, he stated that Iran is now permitting ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz. I interpret that, and I presume others will do the same, that that is an indicator that Iran, for the most part, can facilitate traffic coming through or not coming through the Strait of Hormuz. That is a very interesting dynamic to me because that's technically international waterways. Sure, Iran was a nuisance in the past, but now what it appears to me is that the administration is acknowledging that the Iranian regime effectively controls the Strait of Hormuz. That's very problematic, number one. Number two, I have a lot of questions about this quote unquote ceasefire and the delicacy of the ceasefire. Israel attacked Lebanon. Iran stopped traffic flowing through the strait all over again. If you look at some of the more recent news reports, I believe only 2 ships since this announcement was made have trafficked through the Strait of Hormuz. I have very serious questions about whether or not the insurers who insure ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, will they change some of the premiums that they spiked 5, 10, 15% several weeks ago? Some entities even say, look, we're not going to insure vessels at all because it's too risky. That puts a huge economic price and toll on countries and manufacturers of these ships. I mean, so there are a lot of dynamics here that we just quite frankly don't have answers to, that I'm certainly not comfortable with stating that this peaceful deal will actually lead to anything long-standing. I'm just not convinced of that. The Israelis may decide that they want to continue attacking the Iranian regime. We can't necessarily prohibit them from doing so. I suppose we could put pressure by saying we're going to cut off the munitions we give to Israel or cut off funding we give to Israel. But the executive, meaning the president, can't do that unilaterally, at least not according to the Constitution. That's a congressional thing. And so that creates a whole new dynamic that we would have to assess. And then I'll just say finally, there's a lot of debate on whether or not we should have taken this step. Now, I'm just going to be honest and give you my perspective on this. Mm-hmm. I personally believe the regime should have been removed. I personally believe that the Iranian people have dealt with nearly 5 decades of just torture and thousands and thousands of them, frankly, being murdered. And I think as the most powerful country in the world, on the globe, I think we have a moral obligation to assist free people with getting their freedom. It is the thing that all humans yearn for. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what your sexual orientation, what you look like. None of that matters because we all want our own autonomy to dictate what our future will be. The Iranian people have not had that. So we've killed one Ayatollah, but now his son will presumably be the next leader. So we did not have regime change. Mm-hmm. There isn't an appetite for it politically. I understand why. I think the strategy should have been articulated. I think a strategy, not even the strategy, a strategy should have been articulated to the American people. What does winning look like? Why do we have to do this? What is the timeline? If we are going to help the Iranian people, is there some groups within the country that we're going to supply weapons and funding to help them build a pro-democracy civilization? We saw this back in the 70s with the Shah of Iran and that entire debacle there. And so there are a lot of questions here that are just unanswered. I'm not very happy about what I've personally seen. And if the idea is we're just going to have a peace deal, this is all over, I actually think the Middle East is in a worse predicament than before, because now you're going to have a stronger regime who now recognizes they effectively control the Strait of Hormuz. And you're also going to have a regime that I would argue would say, wait a minute, we need to expedite our ability to have a nuclear weapon, because that is probably going to be the only thing that prohibits this from ever happening again. That makes things dangerous. You probably will set off a nuclear arms race because you have Qatar, Saudi Arabia, other Kuwait, Lebanon, other places are going to say, wait a minute, if Iran's going to have a nuke and we know how hostile they have been to our countries, we probably need to have nukes as well. This really could just be a quagmire that no one's really expecting to happen, that I predict probably will occur based on what I'm seeing so far.
Let me just pause for a second, and I say this with deep humility. But I'm sitting here listening to Shermichael, and obviously you've heard my commentary. You hear more of both of our commentary when we push forward here. But I want to pause for a moment because this is something that doesn't happen very often. What you're listening to right now, agree or disagree with his position, my point of view, doesn't matter. You're entitled to your own POV. You have agency. But you're listening to two black men talking about foreign policy. And that is not something you get very often, almost never, in mainstream media. And I want to pause on that and just for a second so that you can appreciate what it is that we attempt to do every day on this program and other programs like this. There is no issue on which you cannot find black experts, and I'm not suggesting that Shermichael and I are experts on this. We're guys with points of views. But there is no issue on which you cannot find a black expert if you look long enough and hard enough and give them an opportunity to be heard. The mainstream media cares not to do that. I just love the fact that no matter what the issue is, we can lean into it. There are voices, there are critical thinkers. We can lean into all of these issues. And I just hope that you just for a second just appreciate the fact that you're listening to black people in this country talking about foreign policy, something they told Dr. King he had no right to do. Negro, sit down, shut up. We don't want to hear your Beyond Vietnam speech. We didn't give you the right to talk about that. Stay in your lane, civil rights. No, we ain't got one lane. We can discuss anything and everything that matters in this country, and I feel that in this moment. I want to share that with you. That said, I'm looking at some of your comments, and they're everywhere. Somebody said, Tavis, translation of Trump's post, the bombing operation bombed. That's the real translation of what Trump posted, that the bombing operation bombed. To Shermichael's point, that there is no regime change. He's right about that. So why does the president and Hegseth keep lying, saying every time they speak, making references to this regime change in Iran? There ain't no regime change. It's the Ayatollah's son, whose father you killed. So there's no regime change. They keep telling that lie. I'm sick of hearing it. All right, Shermichael mentioned Pete Hegseth. I'm going to give you two short clips here. This is Hegseth today talking about yesterday. Give me clip number 3, Miles.
Hold on back here. Yesterday in the president's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the president really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set locked and loaded of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime, the military regime. Used all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future, to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively say, hey, okay, we want to cut this deal.
Not so sure about that, Pete, but I hear you making your case. One more bit of sound from Pete Hegseth, and we'll push forward.
President Trump had the power to cripple Iran's entire economy in minutes, but he chose mercy. He spared those targets because Iran accepted the ceasefire under overwhelming pressure. The new Iranian regime understood that a deal was far better than the fate that awaited them.
I got about 2 minutes here now, Shermichael. The rest of the hour when we push forward. I don't want to color this question too much, so just take it as you will. Get all the canvas you need in 2 minutes at least to paint. Okay. What's your read of Pete Hegseth in this moment?
I know Pete personally. I know a long-term friend of his personally, and I just think it's important to just be honest with your audience, as I would on CNN, because that obviously can paint someone's assessment of an individual because of personal bias. So I just want to be objective and let the audience know that. That said, I think that he's a guy that is in a pretty tough place. because even if he wanted to disagree with the president, he probably wouldn't be in the role very long. And I think that's a bit of the conundrum that people have had with President Trump, is that you can't disagree with him and stay in your role. And so you have people that effectively acquiesce, which is probably not good. But then you have the question of, well, if you replace people who may be more willing to say, well, I don't know about this, with people who are just willing to acquiesce, then maybe you end up just getting bad people altogether. And so I think he's in a pretty tough position, to just be quite honest with you, Tavis. And I hear the first clip you played on the president's statement, which was just kind of ridiculous. Although the statements were kind of out there, some stuff with the president I just dismiss and ignore, because he just says a lot of hyperbolic things in general. And I typically think we sometimes give those things too much weight, this being the exception. That said, I don't think that's why the president didn't attack. I don't think it had anything to do about the Iranian regime saying we're going to come to the table for negotiations via, I believe it, the Kuwaitis. I think he did it because someone, maybe Susie Wiles or Marco Rubio or Scott Bessent, said, if you do this, you will cause a recession in our country and the entire global economy will shudder.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think Hedge said they're spinning, as he always does. Let me just say two things very quickly. Every one of us ought to live our lives by a certain set of immutable principles. Every one of us ought to live our lives by a certain set of immutable principles. And if those principles then end up costing you your gig, so be it. It's called integrity. It's called integrity. So with all due respect to Shermichael, I hear the argument that if you tell him no, you lose your job. So what? If you have me here to be a yes man, okay. But if you want my opinion, my expertise, you want me to tell you the truth, living my life by a certain set of immutable principles, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to serve you, sir, madam, with integrity. I don't want to hear this argument, if I tell him the truth, I'm going to lose my job. I can't tell him no. Well, then what are you there for? What is the point? We can't trust nothing you say. I digress on that for now. Here are two questions I want to ask Shermichael when we come forward. Number one, is what Donald Trump said yesterday in Truth Social the quintessential definition of genocide? Number two, is Donald Trump a war criminal? I ask those questions when we come forward because dozens of Democrats have now called for Donald Trump's removal. They want the 25th Amendment invoked. I'm talking about members of the Senate and the House. You're listening to Shermichael Singleton on Tavis Smile.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. A civil rights trial is underway in Chicago over the 2021 police shooting death of 13-year-old Adam Toledo by white officer Eric Tillman. The Toledo family's lawyer spoke.
We look forward to presenting the facts and evidence to a jury and having a jury decide whether this shooting was justified.
Jury selection begins next week with opening statements set for April 20th. Rebecca King Cruz is opening up about her decade-long battle with Parkinson's disease, saying recent treatment has improved her symptoms. Originally, she says doctors dismissed early symptoms as anxiety. Her husband, actor and TV host Terry Crews, praised her resilience after years of health challenges. And WNBA star Angel Reese has been traded from the Chicago Sky to the Atlanta Dream for 2 first-round picks. This signals a shift toward a long-term rebuild as the Sky struggle to retain star talent. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are now 0-3 without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. LeBron also did not play Tuesday night against Oklahoma City. He's got a sore foot. The absence of the Lakers' big three set up an easy win for OKC at Crypto.com, 123-87. A game like this, without LeBron, Doncic, and Reeves, should raise concerns among Lakers fans about the overall talent on the Lakers roster. The Clippers beat Dallas last night, 116-103, 34 points for Kawhi Leonard. UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma finally made a direct apology to South Carolina coach Dawn Staley. Auriemma called Staley late Tuesday afternoon to apologize for starting a heated confrontation between the two coaches after Friday's Final Four game in Phoenix. Auriemma released a generic apology on Saturday, but did not mention Staley's name in his statement. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour, weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings, paired with a premium beverage drink, like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher, both for just $5, only at Waba Grill.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Every day on KBLA Talk 1580, it's like a live town hall meeting over the airwaves. Politics, culture, community, justice, nothing is off the table. We take more listener calls, spark more honest conversations, and challenge more assumptions than any talk station in Southern California. Because good ideas matter more than ideology. KBLA Talk 1580, your station, your voice, your city. Listen live at KBLA 1580 AM on our free KBLA 1580 app or on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive. Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Well, a 2-week ceasefire is insufficient. We need a permanent end to Donald Trump's reckless war of choice, which is why House Democrats have demanded that Speaker Mike Johnson immediately reconvene the House back into session so we can move a war powers resolution that will end this conflict permanently.
Hakeem Jeffries, minority leader in the House, calling for an immediate session of Congress, get people back in the office, back on the Hill, back on the floor, to talk about the War Powers Act. That's one piece of legislation, one issue, War Powers Act. The other are these Democratic lawmakers on Capitol Hill who are now backing steps like impeachment and removing the president via the 25th Amendment, even after Trump's ceasefire announcement. When I say dozens, more than 70 lawmakers, including a handful of senators, have said that the president's cabinet needs to invoke the 25th Amendment of the Constitution and declare him unfit to serve, that Congress should impeach and convict him or both. More than 70 lawmakers. Now, 435 in the House, 100 in the Senate, they got a ways to go. But after you announce a ceasefire, you still got 70 lawmakers in both houses total, suggesting that it's time to do something here. I'm talking about Ed Markey out of Massachusetts. I mean, Chris Murphy out of Connecticut. Ro Khanna, of course, in the House. But there are all kinds of voices that are starting to be raised now saying that the cabinet needs to invoke the 25th Amendment and say he's unfit to serve. We know that ain't going to happen, but they're calling for it. And there are other voices saying it's time for impeachment, conviction, and removal. And that impeachment document, that bill, the call for the impeachment has already been introduced by a member of the House. So we will see where this takes us in the coming days, but Hakeem Jeffries has his say, and other Democrats are now having their say. Again, reading all your messages, Shermichael, I thought this was funny, to the point that Shermichael made earlier, says the listener. I guess the takeaway from what Shermichael is telling us, Tavis, is that as long as you are a member of the Trump cabinet, you are either a hostage or just the first two letters of that word. You're either a hostage or just the first two letters of that word.
I'm gonna let the listeners decide which one of those two descriptors they want to go with.
It is.
Oh man, black people are so funny.
I love us, man. I love us. It is. It might be the best line of the day. As long as you work for Donald Trump, you are either a hostage or just the first two letters of that word. We're gonna leave that.
Man,
we're gonna leave
funny.
that. We're gonna leave that right where it is. All right. So these are the tough questions that I pose. Not tough questions for me, but I want to see how Shermichael responds. I'm curious. When Donald Trump put that post out yesterday, calling for, the removal of a whole civilization. There are many who read that as I'm one of them, to be transparent about this. If that isn't the definition of genocide, I don't know what is, number one. Number two, if you call for that, then that makes you a war criminal. Say nothing of the targets that Trump and Hegseth were promising to hit. That goes against everything that is, quote unquote, just in war, and that makes you a war criminal. So I ask, is Donald Trump yesterday guilty of calling for genocide in Iran? And is Donald Trump a war criminal, Shermichael?
Well, I answer the latter question first. No, I don't think he's a war criminal. You have to have an action to be considered a war criminal. And we haven't taken those types of actions. And historically speaking, and look, there are debates. I know there's a lot of criticism from people on various sides about this, but typically the United States does not kill innocent people. Now, I know there are people who've had arguments against George W. Bush and his administration. There have been people that have criticized President Obama's administration. So I acknowledge that there are points of view out there that do exist that have criticized previous presidents about actions that they would classify as crimes of war, crimes against humanity. I disagree with that, but again, I think you have to have an action in order for something to legally be classified as a thing. Now, to the second part about the state.
Hold on, before you jump.
Go ahead.
Before you jump, I hear your point about an action. So our role in supplying Israel weapons for what they've done in Gaza, that doesn't meet the standard of Donald Trump being a war criminal?
I don't think so.
Okay, just asking.
I personally don't think so.
Okay. Push on.
Okay, but so the other part about the statement, we just can't, we don't do that. That's just not what we do. And again, I know a lot of people are going to listen and they're going to say, well, sure, Michael, I don't agree with you. We have done that. Look at this case, look at that case. And people are entitled to that point of view. I would just argue the United States has never directly attempted to destroy an entire group of people, with the exception of freed blacks in the South, and that was a domestic thing, and that's an exception, right? That's an internal thing. But in terms of our engagement with another country or society or group of people, I mean that would just be an unprecedented act, and I thought it was kind of a foolish act. When I saw it, someone sent me a screenshot, and I replied, I said, "No way, this is actually real." Then I went to Google it to look at the president's Truth Social, and I said, "Okay. All right, well, this is going a little too far." Like, it's one thing to go after the regime, which I completely am in support of, but there are a lot of innocent people, women, children. We don't want to be directly responsible for killing people who just have nothing to do with the corrupt tyrannical regime that's in power. That is just, in my opinion, philosophically not in line or in sync with the way we try to conduct our military operations. So that is not to say we haven't had faults, mistakes, issues. I'm not saying that those things don't exist, but on the whole, we typically try to avoid stuff like that.
Yeah. I could take you around the globe if I had the time, with all due respect, to give you places where the U.S. has done exactly what you suggested that we don't do.
Tavis, I know it.
I
just
can do it.
acknowledge that people can point those
I can
examples
do it.
out.
I can do it. I ain't going to do it.
I know that. And I'm saying I get it. I would just probably classify those things very differently.
Mm-hmm. I think what you're trying to say, and again, you're obviously eloquent. You're not even just articulate, as they say of most of us Negroes. He's so articulate. No, you're eloquent. I just think that any honest and earnest read of history suggests that we've done it time and time again. You acknowledge that. So I think what you're saying is that at our best, or ideally, pick another word, this is not the way we show up. But again, there's a lot of evidence to the contrary. So I won't run that list because you've already acknowledged that. But here's what I am pressing you on. When people told you, when people told you to your earlier point about what Donald Trump had said, what he pushed out on Truth Social, and to your point, you went for yourself to read it. Are people right when they say that right there is a bridge too far? That right there is beyond the pale? And that right there is calling for the genocide of a people when you say we want to wipe out a whole civilization. Was Donald Trump calling for genocide in Iran? Is that a word we're still scared to use?
I wouldn't say it's a word that we're too afraid to use. And I guess the definition of the word based on the president's post, I suppose one could make the argument it fits into that. Okay. Mm-hmm. One could make that argument. I would say, however, folks who support the president, or hell, maybe even the general Republicans, will probably agree, hey, this was pretty atrocious. This was beneath the office of the presidency. But despite how extreme and fringe the rhetoric was, we don't believe that the intent was that we're going to murder a country of 300 million people. And I think that's the argument that you would hear from Republicans who, by the way, are critical and were critical. Some senators were critical. Some members of Congress on my side were critical of the president's words, saying, look, it's one thing to go after the regime, but we're not this business of killing just people for the hell of killing them. Mm-hmm. We just don't do that. We're not going to do that. And so I could see two different framings of this. But to your point, if someone were to say, well, this is what the word means as defined, this act is calling for that type of action. Does it not fit into the category? I mean, come on, I got to be an honest broker here. Sure, it does.
Mm-hmm. Nope, it does. And I'm glad that you say that. There are a lot of people who are still afraid of that word. But what Donald Trump said yesterday is a classic definition of genocide. And that is why there are dozens of Democrats who are now calling for his removal after this Iran threat. Again, they're calling for impeachment if necessary, but they're also calling for members of his cabinet, which the Constitution allows for, to invoke the 25th Amendment and say he's no longer fit to be president of the United States. We'll ask Shermichael what he thinks of what the Democrats are now calling for when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on! And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go. Almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do? My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
The joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Fig Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner, Ain't Misbehavin'. The soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. Foot-stomping, heart-stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
I've learned a lot about the Iranian system and a lot about the way the Iranians negotiate. As the president told me last night, the Iranians are better negotiators than they are fighters. Even within their system, and this is why I say this is a fragile truce, you have people who clearly want to come to the negotiating table and work with us to find a good deal. And then you have people who are lying about even the fragile truce that we've already struck. If the Iranians are willing, in good faith, to work with us, I think we can make an agreement. If they're going to lie, if they're going to cheat, if they're going to try to prevent even the fragile truce that we've set up from taking place, then they're not going to be happy. Because what the president has also shown is that we still have clear military, diplomatic, and maybe most importantly, we have extraordinary economic leverage. So the president has told us not to use those tools. He's told us to come to the negotiating table. But if the Iranians don't do the exact same thing, they're going to find out that the president of the United States is not one to mess around. He's impatient. He's impatient to make progress. He has told us to negotiate in good faith. And I think if they negotiate in good faith, we will be able to find a deal.
I shared with you earlier a piece in the New York Times today from a forthcoming book from 2 Times reporters, Maggie Haberman and her colleague Jonathan, have a book coming out called Regime Change Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump. They share in this book that Vice President J.D. Vance, who you just heard there, told the president, "You know I think this is a bad idea, but if you want to do it, I'll support you." That's what Vance told the president. So every time I hear J.D. Vance talk now, I'm like, take a few seats. I can't trust nothing you say. Take a few seats. Because if you knew this was wrong and you told the president, if you want to do it, well, I'll support you. And now you're trying to spin this nonsense. I can't take seriously nothing J.D. Vance says, knowing what he told the president inside the Situation Room. And this is the same J.D. Vance that was hanging out yesterday with Viktor Orban in Hungary. So now you're trying to prop him up, as Trump has done 1,000 times. I can't handle that. I'll give Shermichael the last word when we come forward with his take on what Democrats have now called for with Donald Trump in terms of impeachment and demanding that his cabinet invoke the 25th Amendment, which they can do constitutionally. We'll give Shermichael Singleton, as we always do, the last word when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at wootencenter.org. That's wootencenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
A little less than 5 minutes left in this hour, and I want to yield the balance of my time to the gentleman from CNN, the gentleman from We the Free TV streaming network, Shermichael Singleton. He acknowledged already in this conversation that there are GOP dissenters that have emerged. Given what Trump said yesterday about wiping out a whole civilization, some Republicans have been venting concern as this party backs Trump's Iran threat. Never mind the fragile ceasefire that J.D. Vance just spoke about for the next couple of weeks. We shall see. But Republicans are voicing dissent. But Democrats have called for his removal, Donald Trump's removal, after this Iran threat, encouraging his cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment and say he's no longer fit to be president. And if they won't do that, Democrats have now introduced an impeachment motion, and we will see how many folk line up behind that. But at the moment, there are over 70 members of the House and the Senate saying one of these two things, either or, both hands, something needs to be done about Donald Trump. The last 4 minutes, Shermichael Singleton, belong to you. Shermichael, is your mute button on? You maybe got yourself on mute because we can't hear you.
Okay, yep, I was.
There
Sorry
you go.
about that.
It's all yours. Go for it.
I don't think that this is politically wise for Democrats. We've gone through this a couple of different times now. And it's never really politically worked for them. It's worked for some small groups that have raised money for C4s or C3s under the democracy umbrella, et cetera. But on the whole, this isn't what's mobilized people. And if you look at the special elections that Democrats have been dominating, and I have to acknowledge the successes of these candidates across the country, state legislature. You look at congressional special elections, you look at the gubernatorial races, the mayoral races. I mean, Democrats, if you look at the raw data, they should do exceptionally well this November. Now, when you factor in gerrymandering from Republicans in states like Texas, North Carolina, one or two other states, that's going to sort of complicate this a little bit because that's unprecedented. But nevertheless, they should win 25 seats, potentially even more, depending on what the economy looks like going into early voting come September. And when you look at those special elections, all of them, Tavis, those people were not talking about impeachment or the 25th Amendment. You know what they were talking about? the economy.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about, look, we didn't deliver the last 4 years the way we wanted to. You guys didn't vote for us because you wanted to give Republicans an opportunity. You gave them the keys to the palace, and they have burned down the palace. This is not what you expected. So give us an opportunity to correct course. That's generally the messaging that I have seen, and I've studied all of the races. And I don't agree with all of the candidates, but I will say the message discipline, recognizing what the voters want, it's been so smart. And so if I were Hakeem Jeffries, or if I were running the DNC and I'm not a Democrat, I would study all of those races. What messaging was palatable to young men, to young voters, to the disparate groups across the Democratic coalition? And how do we formulate a national strategy that we as a party, if I were a Democrat, could run on? That would be my advice. And I don't think it's this 25th Amendment stuff. I get it. And there are certainly some aspects of the party that I'm sure it animates. But when you look at the people who are winning races and winning by pretty strong darn margins, I have to admit this as a Republican, they're talking about tangible things that people are worried about. And that would be my advice to my friends on the other side. In terms of the 25th Amendment, the cabinet's not going to invoke the 25th Amendment. That's not going to happen.
No, we know
so that's kind of like pie in the sky, wishful thinking.
To these races, I think his name is Sean Harris. He was a guest on this program last week. He's the guy, the black guy who was running in the race for Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. He lost that race yesterday, but he closed that margin by 25 percentage points.
25 points. That's right.
He only lost by like 4,000 some votes. That's how close it was. But he closed that gap in a ruby red district that Marjorie Taylor Greene had. He closed that gap in Georgia by 25 points. If that ain't a message to Republicans, I don't know what is. Shermichael Singleton.
And Tavis, if I can really quickly,
sure.
I watched that race. I'm always fascinated when I see a lot of other black people get into politics, whether they're Republican, Democrat. I just love to see it.
Right.
And I was interested to see what that brother's messaging was, because it's an interesting district. There's it's a majority white, but the strong black voter segment that just don't typically vote. And you know what he was talking about when he was talking to both groups of people? The economy, education, cost of living, the things that doesn't matter what you look like, you are impacted by those things. And like you said, the guy outperformed former Vice President Kamala Harris. That, to me, should not be overlooked party. And that's what I think Democrats should focus on nationally.
Well, there's a message to Democrats there and a message to Republicans. We'll leave it there. Shermichael Singleton, conservative CNN contributor, co-founder of the We the Free TV streaming network. Shermichael, thanks for your time. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Talk to you soon, Tavis. Thank you, and thanks to the entire team.
Thank you for having the time on your schedule to talk to us today. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. A civil rights trial is underway in Chicago over the 2021 police shooting death of 13-year-old Adam Toledo by white officer Eric Tillman. The Toledo family's lawyer spoke.
We look forward to presenting the facts and evidence to a jury and having a jury decide whether this shooting was justified.
Jury selection begins next week with opening statements set for April 20th. Rebecca King Cruz is opening up about her decade-long battle with Parkinson's disease, saying recent treatment has improved her symptoms. Originally, she says doctors dismissed early symptoms as anxiety. Her husband, actor and TV host Terry Crews, praised her resilience after years of health challenges. And WNBA star Angel Reese has been traded from the Chicago Sky to the Atlanta Dream for 2 first-round picks. This signals a shift toward a long-term rebuild as the Sky struggle to retain star talent. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are now 0-3 without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. LeBron also did not play Tuesday night against Oklahoma City. He's got a sore foot. The absence of the Lakers' big three set up an easy win for OKC at Crypto.com, 123-87. A game like this, without LeBron, Doncic, and Reeves, should raise concerns among Lakers fans about the overall talent on the Lakers roster. The Clippers beat Dallas last night, 116-103, 34 points for Kawhi Leonard. UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma finally made a direct apology to South Carolina coach Dawn Staley. Auriemma called Staley late Tuesday afternoon to apologize for starting a heated confrontation between the two coaches after Friday's Final Four game in Phoenix. Auriemma released a generic apology on Saturday, but did not mention Staley's name in his statement. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on
the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
Oh, man, I miss Max. Miss Maxwell and Angela. I said D'Angelo. I said Maxwell. D'Angelo, thank you. I miss D'Angelo and Angie. I don't know why. I was talking to Maxwell yesterday. We got a big event coming up and trying to get him to come perform for us. He's on my brain, but I miss D'Angelo, miss Angie, and he sounds as good as ever. I'm Tavis Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this hour. Two conversations as promised. On the backside, Neil Maher, professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology and Rutgers University-Newark, unpacks the complicated relationship between America's space race and the civil rights movement as Artemis II is piloted back to Earth this week by a black astronaut. His name is Victor Glover, as I recall. He's a Sigma. I ain't mad about that. That's a good Kappa, man. But anyway, it's good to see us represented in outer space. That's on the backside of this hour. We commence this hour, as promised, with new data which suggests that attending an HBCU versus a PWI might be better for your brain health. I was fascinated by this headline when I saw this study come out. And I said, somebody get me Dr. Marilyn Thomas. And they went looking for her, and they found her in San Francisco. And here she is. Dr. Thomas, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm delighted to have you on the program, and thank you for these minutes. So here's the question. Let me just pose it and get you to tell us more about this study. The ultimate question, I guess, is whether or not attending an HBCU versus a PWI, predominantly white institution, is in fact associated with later life cognitive health for black folk in this country. So that's the ultimate question I want to push toward. But just give me the backstory to this study. I'm always fascinated by the things that academics and professors and intellects like you study. So just tell me more about the background for how you came to be interested in this, and then we'll talk about that specific question.
Sounds good. So that's an interesting question. It's been an evolution, certainly. I think my journey with this started probably during grad school. So I studied at UC Berkeley. That's where I obtained my PhD in epidemiology. Mm-hmm. And I went there to study specifically with the great Amani Nuru Jeter, who is one of the first professors to study the association between experiences of racism on Black health. And during that time, there were lots of different data sets and studies and ways in which I was looking at various forms of racial discrimination, racial bias, and their associations with a variety of health outcomes, but those that are particularly along the stress regulation pathway, like hypertension and diabetes and allostatic load and those kind of outcomes. And we were finding, of course, as one would expect, that higher exposure to racism was linked to worse health for Black individuals. But when we started to look at factors that buffered that, the negative impacts of racism on health, it seemed to be always educational attainment. So we were looking for social, predictors, social indicators that would be protective against, that racial stress. And it was sometimes income, poverty as well, but it seemed to always be higher education, and specifically higher education. So it's not just every additional year of educational attainment you get, it's protective against, poor health or chronic disease, but specifically higher, like more than high school, was very protective. So that got me wanting to dig deeper into what is that mechanism about education that actually matters for Black individuals. And so I pivoted during, as I'm doing my research now, looking at cognitive outcomes in dementia, because higher educational attainment is one of the strongest social determinants of dementia risk. So I was like, okay, now let's look at one of these later life outcomes and see if higher education, has impacts. And again, my early work, 2002, 2003, we're looking at this broadly, just higher educational attainment in general. But what we're finding is these large gaps, racial gaps between outcomes between white people and Black people. So although higher education was protective against dementia risk, it was less protective for Black individuals. So there's a gap. The prevalence rates are higher, even among those with a higher education. So that's what motivated this study. It was like, okay, well, we need to find what are sources of resilience. I say resilience, even though I kind of hate that word. Resistance feels like a better word, but like, what are sources of resistance against the adverse effects of racism on health as it relates to education? And that's when I thought, okay, let's see if HBCU exposure actually matters.
I love it.
Because,
there's your backstory. I wanted to know how this thing came to be, and I didn't want to interrupt. So Dr. Marilyn Thomas has laid out why this question was so important to her and why she was wrestling with it and marinating on it, and why she decided to do something about it. So when we come forward, we'll find out what she did do in terms of her survey, her research, to address this question of whether or not attending an HBCU versus a PWI is in fact associated with later life cognitive health for Black adults. Number one, I also want to ask her, I heard her slip that in there. I didn't miss that. She says she prefers resistance, not so big a fan of the word resilience. I wonder why, since everybody's using that word about Black people. We're so resilient. Resilience is the word of the day. Resilience, Black joy, these terms we come up with all the time that we lean into really heavily at any point in time in our history. So why resistance, and why is she not a fan of resilience? I heard that. And then I'm fascinated to start with this notion of higher education before we even get into the study. Why is higher education so determinative of all the categories, of all the things that we deal with and face and are put up and have to navigate our way through? For Black people, why is higher education so determinative? You're listening to Dr. Marilyn Thomas on Tavis Smiley.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
Can we just talk?
Tavis Smiley.
You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavisTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavisTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer. Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
So I see what Miles, my board op, did there. At the top of the hour, I was trying to say D'Angelo, and I said Maxwell. And so now he's giving me some Maxwell. Okay, Miles, I got it. You can stop now. You can stop. You can stop. Love both of those guys. Miss D'Angelo, love Maxwell. Our guest in this half hour is Dr. Marilyn Thomas, assistant professor of medicine at University of California, San Francisco, with a powerful and provocative new study about whether or not attending an HBCU is better for your long-term mental, cognitive, brain health than going to a PWI like I did. And so I saw this study and wanted to have her on. I'm glad we could find her and she can make some time for us. So there are a couple of things that she said I want to go back to right quick before I push forward. My time is getting tight on me. So Dr. Thomas, I heard it, and I'm fascinated. I have a really bright audience of people all across the country, and I looked at our post, at our socials, and people were like, Tavis, I was just typing you this same message. Could you please ask her why she doesn't like the word resilience and prefers the word resistance? I wasn't the only one across the country who heard it. All right, Dr. Thomas, go.
I like them both. Let me put it that way. So I'm trying. I prefer resistance in part because resilience implies that, not implies, but it reflects, represents that something is happening to oppress people, and then you have to. It's not like it's a blame the victim necessarily a term, but to me it seems like we shouldn't have to be resilient in, as a community. We should be supporting each other. And so I think of these broader systems as systems that are designed to minoritize people, and we should resist that, not be resilient to it. We are resilient. That's kind of comes with the territory, but being healthy is an act of resistance against those systems. So that's why I prefer it.
Okay, I got it. Just want to hear your answer. There you go, folks. We did ask her, and there you have it. The other issue that you raised earlier that I want to come back to right quick before I get into your study, or let you get into your study, is why at the outset higher education is that issue. Of all the issues that could have been, what's your study tell you about why higher education? Why is it for Black folk in particular are so determinative? And if determinative is the wrong word, give me the right word.
Yeah, so what we did is we looked at among college goers, we compared those who attended an HBCU versus a PWI. So we're not unpacking yet how that mechanism, like what are the institutional characteristics or factors that are driving that. We just wanted to see, will attendance itself, just being exposed to an HBCU matter? And it does. The reason why higher education, it's kind of widely understood that people with higher education have something called greater cognitive reserve, which is described as preserved cognitive function despite indicators of just natural aging, neuropathy, or diminished brain activity, which happens to all of us over time. So this study showed that, we took a national sample of Black college goers and we compared those two groups. And those who attended an HBCU had better memory, better language, and better global cognition than those who attended a predominantly white institution.
All right, so the obvious question, what do we know about why that is the case?
So there's that's part of where my research is going now, trying to unpack that mechanism. Okay, now that we know this association is real, what are those drivers? So I'm building on that. But what we do know is that, Black students who attend predominantly white institutions generally report, more experiences of racial discrimination, racial bias. Black students at HBCUs tend to have better outcomes, like in terms of degree attainment, level of, degree. And like you said, you had mentioned you're a Kappa man. Just the sorority and fraternity networks at HBCUs are just extraordinary. The networks of students coming out having that level of social support completely impacts job opportunities and the ability to reach higher levels of socioeconomic status, which we know are linked to better, access to health promoting resources and, health over the life course.
Yeah.
So there's a clear biopsychosocial mechanism that's happening here. And the important thing to me was, this means HBCU attendance matters well beyond graduation. Whatever the benefits, the underlying benefits that are driving, better cognition is it's not going to stop just because you attend the school. You
Yeah.
carry it with you over the life course. The median age or mean age of the participants in our sample were 62, I believe. So it ranged from like 45 years old all the way up to 100 years old.
Mm.
So this is really a profound finding.
Yeah. I wonder what this data tells you, and I take your point. I'm not deaf. I heard you a couple of times say you're pushing toward deeper study of what this data set has already provided you. I get that. And yet I'm wondering if there's anything, because I think you mentioned the fraternities and sororities, it kind of jumped out at me. Does the data that you have at this point say anything to you about the cognitive health of Black people being better over the long term when they are in, how might I put this, community with each other? Because that's what you get. That's what you get at an HBCU that you don't get necessarily at a PWI. I mean, I had my Black friends at Indiana University. Make no mistake about it. I played Kappa at our Alpha chapter at Indiana University. I was around a decent number of Black people. But by and large, it is a overwhelmingly predominantly white institution. IU is. But I wonder if there's anything that this data set at this point says to you or us about what happens to Black mental health, Black cognitive health when we are in community with each other.
Mm-hmm. This particular study didn't answer that question, but there's a broad literature that has evaluated just that, kind of doing qualitative studies to find out what, social dynamics, what, sense of being in a culturally affirming environment, building social networks, all of that, even with faculty members. That's another thing is, students at HBCUs don't just build, community with each other. They also feel much more comfortable about talking to their ideas to their professors, which means more cognitive engagement, more, building those stronger relationships and, writ large. So so this particular study, we didn't have data on those kind of dynamics, but we do already, that's part of what influenced this, this hypothesis was understanding that Black students at HBCUs just have very different social experiences and academic experiences than those at a PWI.
Yep.
What I will say just briefly, what we did see very interesting patterns in this data were that their HBCU attendees were much more likely to have personal and academic empowerment during childhood than those who attended a PWI. And it was large differences, like double. So like, for example, HBCU attendees were much more likely, almost triple, more likely to have a college-educated mother or female caregiver. They were much more likely to report having childhood academic support, like help with homework, motivation from, school support at the institutions they were at. So there were some patterns that did emerge that are worthy of kind of deeper study.
Yeah.
But it is consistent with other literature that does show that among the many motivations for students to choose an HBCU, like familial, ties, like institutional legacy, like where your friends are going, and encouragement by trusted supporters. We did see, really strong early life exposure to encouragement and empowerment among those that were much more prevalent among those who decided to attend an HBCU.
My time is getting tight here. I always love asking this particular question of scientists, like yourself in particular, because you have a curiosity. You go in search of an answer to the questions that you have, and somewhere along the way, every now and then you get surprised. Did any of the data that you've discovered so far surprise you?
Yes. So one of the main thing that stood out to me, because this particular cohort were college age between 1940 and 1980. And that was a perfect opportunity to kind of look at different cohorts who were exposed to different racialized education policies. So in 1952, we had the Brown versus Board of Education decision, which barred racial segregation in school. And then we had the 1964 Civil Rights Act that barred racial discrimination in higher education, period. And so I wanted to see if there would be differences among those three separate cohorts, those before 1954, between 1954 and 64, and then after 64. And there weren't really any significant differences. And that was surprising to me because I was expecting those who had been exposed to legal racial segregation to have I just expected stronger associations for those who were exposed to less racialized policies.
Yeah.
And there were really no differences. So that was surprising. The benefits of HBCU attendance may be robust to different experiences of racial discrimination.
Yep, I get it.
At least historical policy.
Yep,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I can see why you're surprised by that. I'm a little surprised myself. Let me, in the minute I have left, now that you have this data that suggests that there may be a link between later life cognitive health for Black folk who go to HBCUs versus PWIs, now that you have that data, what are you drilling down on now? Where's your study taking you next?
So yeah, now I'm starting to look at what are those specific characteristics. Now that we know it matters, what matters about it? You know, is it the percent Black faculty? Is it the social support and the networking? Is it financial resources? And will those same factors, are they transferable at PWIs? So will we see similar trends at PWIs that have higher proportions, for example, of Black faculty?
Right.
So now I'm kind of drilling down and just kind of trying to unpack what are those specific institutional characteristics that we can target in order to, you know, invest and to improve outcomes for everyone.
For those listening across the country right now who want to read more about this fascinating study, it's published where, Dr. Thomas?
It's published in JAMA Network Open.
That's JAMA, J-A-M-A. JAMA?
J-A-M-A. It is a peer-reviewed medical journal, and it's entitled Historically Black College or University Attendance and Cognition in U.S. Black Adults.
So if you go to JAMA, J-A-M-A, Network Open, JAMA Network Open, you can read more about the details of the study brought to us by Dr. Marilyn Thomas. I thank her for her time today to at least top line this for us. She's assistant professor of medicine, University of California, San Francisco. I look forward to having you back on again somewhere down the road when you get more detail about what it means to go to an HBCU versus a PWI. But for now, Dr. Thomas, thank you for your work and your witness and your research in this conversation. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me, Tavis.
My pleasure. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Rapper Offset is still recovering in a Florida hospital after being shot at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino this week. He's listed in stable condition. 2 people were arrested, including rapper Lil TJ, on unrelated charges.
Did I shoot Wilson? It's crazy.
He's now bonded out of jail. Tickets for the Obama Presidential Center go on sale May 6th. The Southside Landmark opens June 19th on Juneteenth, with admission $30 for adults and discounts for kids ages 3 to 11. Entry is free for children 2 and under. Visitors are encouraged to book online in advance. And the man once convicted, then cleared in the killing of Jam Master Jay could soon be free. A federal judge approved a $1 million bond for Carl Jordan Jr., though prosecutors are weighing an appeal as he faces separate drug charges. Jordan was originally convicted of killing Jam Master Jay in a narcotics deal gone south. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are now 0-3 without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. LeBron also did not play Tuesday night against Oklahoma City. He's got a sore foot. The absence of the Lakers' big three set up an easy win for OKC at Crypto.com, 123-87. A game like this without LeBron, Doncic, and Reeves should raise concerns among Lakers fans about the overall talent on the Lakers roster. The Clippers beat Dallas last night 116-103, 34 points for Kawhi Leonard. UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma finally made a direct apology to South Carolina coach Dawn Staley. Auriemma called Staley late Tuesday afternoon to apologize for starting a heated confrontation between the two coaches after Friday's Final Four game in Phoenix. Auriemma released a generic apology on Saturday, but did not mention Staley's name in his statement. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour, weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings, paired with a premium beverage drink, like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher, both for just $5, only at Waba Grill.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
You need a place where your views are not dismissed, where your voice is not ignored, and where the conversation is always worth having. That place is KBLA Talk 1580, LA's progressive talk radio home. A safe space for real talk about the issues shaping our lives and our future. Because now, more than ever, our voices need to be heard. KBLA Talk 1580. Tune in live on the radio at 1580 a.m. on our website at KBLA1580.com or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive. Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
We have a poem here. It's called Whitey on the Moon. And it was inspired by some whiteys on the moon. So I want to give credit where credit is due. All right. That's it. A rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon. Her face and arms began to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. I can't pay no doctor bills, but Whitey's on the moon. 10 years from now, I'll be paying still while Whitey's on the moon. You know, the man just upped my rent last night. 'cause Whitey's on the moon. No hot water, no toilets, no lights, but Whitey's on the moon. I wonder why he's up in me, 'cause Whitey's on the moon. Well, I was already giving him 50 a week, and now Whitey's on the moon. Taxes taking my whole damn check. The junkies make me a nervous wreck. The price of food is going up, and as if all that crap wasn't enough, a rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon. Her face and arms began to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. Was all that money I made last year for Whitey on the moon? How come I ain't got no money here? Whitey's on the moon. You know, I just about had my fill of Whitey on the moon. I think I'll send these doctor bills, air mail special. To Whitey on the moon.
That's Gil Scott Heron. Gil Scott Heron, Whitey on the moon. I'm Tavis Smiley. Our guest in this half hour is Neil Maher, professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology and Rutgers University-Newark. We invited him on for a few moments here to unpack the complicated relationship between America's space race and the civil rights movement as Artemis II is piloted back to Earth by a black astronaut this week. His name is Victor Glover. Before we talk about Victor Glover with Neil Maher, here is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
We are likely to find that the problem of housing, education, instead of preceding the elimination of poverty, will themselves be affected if poverty is first abolished. The poor, transformed into purchasers, will do a great deal on their own to alter housing decay. Negroes who have a double disability will have a greater effect on discrimination when they have the additional weapon of cash to use in their struggle. Beyond these advantages, a host of positive psychological changes inevitably will result from widespread economic security. The dignity of the individual will flourish when the decisions concerning his life are in his own hands, when he has the assurance that his income is stable and certain, and when he knows that he has the means to seek self-improvement. Personal conflicts between husband, wife, and children will diminish when the unjust measurement of human worth on a scale of dollars is eliminated. Now our country can do this. John Kenneth Galbraith said that a guaranteed annual income could be done for about $20 billion a year. And I say to you today that if our nation can spend $35 billion a year to fight an unjust, evil war in Vietnam and $20 billion to put a man on the moon, it can spend billions of dollars to put God's children on their own 2 feet right here on earth.
Ain't nobody like him. Ain't nobody like Dr. King. You see why I always refer to him as the greatest American this country's ever produced. Neil Maher, good to have you on. How are you, sir?
So good to be on, and just so good to hear those two voices.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
No, so I don't need to color my first question. You hear those two voices? I mean, you hear those two voices, you hear what?
I hear, first of all, hope, but I also hear the recognition that not everyone wanted a man on the moon back in the 1960s, which I think is an important thing to remember.
Mm-hmm. This relationship that Dr. King speaks of, and Gil Scott Heron spoke of, as I mentioned earlier, there is a complicated relationship, for lack of a better word, between America's space race and black folk, or our movement. And to that notion, which I think you agree with, you say what?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's really, sort of symbolized as well by an event that took place the day before the Apollo launch, when Ralph Abernathy actually met with about 25 African Americans with his Poor People's Campaign outside the gates of the Kennedy Space Center. And he met Thomas Paine, the leader of NASA, in the middle of a field in front of all reporters and the NASA rocket back over his shoulder. And he said that, he and his people were not against space exploration, and they were not against Apollo. They were completely for it. But what they were questioning was, what he called the distorted sense of national priorities. And it's just what, both Gil Scott Heron and Martin Luther King were talking about. All, $24 billion spent to get a man on the moon. when there were all these problems back on Earth, especially problems being faced by African Americans. So this was a theme that recurred a lot during this period within the African American community.
Yep. I'm trying to, I hear you, and you're right about that. I remember that story, that moment well. And to your point of a distorted sense of national priorities, on the one hand, that is true. On the other hand, I see a lot of black people celebrating Victor Glover, a black man, being on this mission.
It's incredible. It's really incredible. I mean, early on, NASA was accused of actually firing the first African American astronaut in the training corps. And now here we are, 50 years later, and we have an African American, piloting the space capsule. So we've come a really long way, and that is something to really celebrate. But I think it was a long, hard journey, and a lot of people, took to the streets to let their feelings be heard that this is the sort of equality that they wanted.
Yeah. I've been thinking about something the last couple of days, Neil, not to make you political, but I want to just share my POV with you and see if you have any response or read of it. So we all know in Trump 2.0 that there are any number of examples of black officials that Trump has fired. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was black. He was fired. He's gone after Letitia James. I don't have the time to run all the list of African Americans. Lisa Cook at the Fed. There are all kinds of high-ranking black officials Donald Trump has tried to fire, or in fact he and Pete Hegseth have pushed out. And while they've made a target of these qualified, uber-qualified black people, we know in our community, in the black community, we've been taught, all of us, from babies on up, that you got to be twice as good as the white guy to get half as far, right? So we've been taught that our whole lives. So you see, on the one hand, Trump firing all these black experts, all these black thinkers, these black doers, these black achievers on the one hand, but now you got Victor Glover making history as this black astronaut in outer space. I guess they couldn't get to him. They couldn't fire him fast enough. But it's just fascinating for me to see, again, all the black folk they've gotten rid of. But in a moment like this Victor Glover guy is there and he's done his thing.
I agree, and it's just so great. And I think that you can really think about many of the people in the past who have been fighting for such equality, for Victor to be able to do what he's doing. I mean, early in the 60s, there were people who were, nonviolent demonstrations outside Mission Control in Houston. They were, very quietly interrupting, parades for ticker tape parades for astronauts. They were, boycotting space landings on the moon, all to sort of suggest or to demand that African Americans be considered equals in the space program. And I think that, in some ways, Victor Glover is riding into space on those people's, shoulders in a way, and the actions that they took during the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s to sort of make it be known that this equality is what is needed, and they're not going to stand for that discrimination.
I wonder what Neil Maher thinks of what it does for the American, or to the American psyche, when we see a black face in outer space, when we see a black man piloting Artemis II. What's that do for the American psyche? We'll talk about that part when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do? My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
There's so many firsts here for this mission. The first commander of a return manned mission to the moon, the first black man, the first woman, the first Canadian to visit the moon. What do these firsts mean to each of you?
It is a big question, and I want to highlight, I guess, maybe one facet of this is the tension, I call it. I live in this, this dichotomy between happiness that a young woman can look at Christina and just physicalize her passion or her interest, or even if it's not something she wants to do, she can just be like girl power, and that's awesome. And that young brown boys and girls can look at me and go, hey, he looks like me and he's doing what? And that's great. I love that. But I also hope we are pushing the other direction, that one day we don't have to talk about these first, that one day this is just, and I listen to this, that this is the human history. It's about human history. It's the story of humanity, not black history, not women's history, but that it becomes human history.
That is Victor Glover, who is piloting Artemis II, responding to a question about what it means to be an African-American first in this regard. Neil, I was saying to Miles, my board op, and I were talking a moment ago, and I was saying to him that as much travel as I've done over the years of my career in this country and all around the world, whenever I see a black pilot, which you don't see all the time, but whenever I see a black pilot, I always feel safer. And I always make sure that I go greet the black pilot, and oftentimes they're excited to meet me, which is humbling. But I'm just as excited to meet them, and I always whisper in their ear and tell them, I feel so much safer that you are piloting this aircraft today. And they said, why is that? I said, because, Negro, I know you ready. I know you trained. I know what you had to do to get this job. So I feel always safer when I see a black pilot taking me anywhere across the country or around the world. That joke notwithstanding, although that joke has some truth behind it. I asked a moment ago, what do you think it does for the American psyche, the white psyche, when they see a black man like Victor Glover piloting Artemis II in an era, as we discussed earlier, where Donald Trump and his administration are pushing back against DE&I, pushing back against black achievement, not wanting books to be in certain schools about black. I mean, everybody knows the moment that we find ourselves in, and into this moment steps Victor Glover, taking us into outer space and setting records. What's that do for the American psyche, you think?
Victor Glover talked about that tension, and I completely agree with him, between celebrating a first by an African American, but also, hoping for those days when we don't have to discuss that and it's just accepted. I think there's also a tension right now across the country. I think there's a lot of people who will look at this and celebrate it and sort of have a similar feeling to Victor Glover and think this is just an incredible moment. And then, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this country who will look at this and question why he was chosen, and we're back to that same, sort of criticism of DEI, and it's just a tragedy that we're still at this place having a similar discussion that we had back in the 60s and 70s. But I don't know what to say on that. I am a political guy, and my book is very, very political. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the moment that we're in is just a very tough time to read these events without seeing it indicate a division in the country. You know what I mean?
Yep. That book is called Apollo in the Age of Aquarius. We'll let him say a word about that when we come forward in our remaining moments with him. And I also want to ask him in these remaining moments whether or not he agrees with some who suggested in advance of this mission taking off that this was a make-or-break moonshot moment for NASA. A make-or-break moonshot moment for NASA. It seems that they've pulled through with flying colors, although the thing hasn't landed safely as yet. We pray for that. But what's this mean for NASA? What's this mean for the space race? More broadly, we'll get those answers from Neil Maher when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this. Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Neil Maher, professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology and Rutgers University-Newark. I don't normally do this, Neil, but I'm going to put 2 questions out and give you these last 4 minutes to go as you will, weave them together if necessary or not. But say a word about your book, Apollo in the Age of Aquarius, and then your commentary on what some said in advance of Artemis II taking off, that this was a make-or-break moonshot moment for NASA with regard to what it means for the space race, for the future of space exploration. It's all yours, Neil. Take it away.
Thanks. My book, Apollo in the Age of Aquarius, talks about the relationship between the space race on the one hand and the social grassroots movements in the 1960s on the other. So I look at civil rights, anti-Vietnam War, feminism, environmentalism, and the hippie and conservative countercultures. And within that, I look at civil rights quite extensively in a chapter. And that's why we're talking today. But I want to get at your second question a little bit more, which is why I think this is a make or break moment. Obviously, it's a make or break moment because we are going back to the moon after half a century. That is, incredibly important. But I also think in a more subtle way, it's a make or break moment because the federal government is now back in the center and playing a really important role in this process. In the past 20 years, we've sort of given up that role to privatization and the private space companies like SpaceX. And while those companies are more efficient and perhaps economically more, lower price, we lose something as a culture when we farm that out to a private company. In the 60s, when NASA was trying to get to the moon, people could disagree with NASA and take to the streets and make their disagreement known. People did this with respect to African Americans not being in the astronaut corps. They did it with respect to Martin Luther King did it with respect to all the money being spent on the space race and money not being spent on urban problems, for instance. During that time, you could get on your soapbox, go out in the streets, protest, and NASA heard those protests and actually changed some of its policies. It spun off technologies to help urban communities in what was then called the American ghetto. SpaceX and companies led by people like Elon Musk, they don't have to listen to us. They don't have to listen to people taking to the streets and criticizing what they're doing. Elon Musk sent a cherry red Tesla convertible into space as payload to promote his brand. Many people thought that was a complete waste, but he doesn't have to listen to us. He doesn't have to take into account people going out there and disagreeing with him. Yeah. So I think this is a make or break moment because NASA's back in the game, and we can help guide that policy and that program.
In a quick 60 seconds here, have these billionaires, Bezos, Musk, have these billionaires in space done anything good for NASA? I'm thinking maybe pushing NASA to be better.
Yeah, I think they have done a lot good. They are economically way more efficient than the federal government is. They're developing technologies much cheaper and much more efficient. And they're also pushing NASA to sort of, rethink and retool its own technology. Absolutely. So there are really, really positives about it. I just think we have to be aware of some of the negative side effects of that.
Nope, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Neil Maher is professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology and Rutgers University-Newark. He's authored the book, Apollo in the Age of Aquarius, which talks about the complicated relationship between the space race and all kinds of movements, including the civil rights movement. Professor Maher, good to have you on, man. Thank you for your time and your insights. Enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
You too. Thank you.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Rapper Offset is still recovering in a Florida hospital after being shot at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino this week. He's listed in stable condition. 2 people were arrested, including rapper Lil TJ, on unrelated charges.
Did I shoot both? It's crazy.
He's now bonded out of jail. Tickets for the Obama Presidential Center go on sale May 6th. The Southside Landmark opens June 19th on Juneteenth, with admission $30 for adults and discounts for kids ages 3 to 11. Entry is free for children 2 and under. Visitors are encouraged to book online in advance. And the man once convicted, then cleared in the killing of Jam Master Jay, could soon be free. A federal judge approved a $1 million bond for Carl Jordan Jr., though prosecutors are weighing an appeal as he faces separate drug charges. Jordan was originally convicted of killing Jam Master Jay in a narcotics deal gone south. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are now 0-3 without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. LeBron also did not play Tuesday night against Oklahoma City. He's got a sore foot. The absence of the Lakers' big three set up an easy win for OKC at Crypto.com, 123-87. A game like this without LeBron, Doncic, and Reeves should raise concerns among Lakers fans about the overall talent on the Lakers roster. The Clippers beat Dallas last night 116-103, 34 points for Kawhi Leonard. UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma finally made a direct apology to South Carolina coach Dawn Staley. Auriemma called Staley late Tuesday afternoon to apologize for starting a heated confrontation between the two coaches after Friday's Final Four game in Phoenix. Auriemma released a generic apology on Saturday, but did not mention Staley's name in his statement. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, black voices, black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
I better jump in fast. I can't afford the royalties on that Michael Jackson piece. I can't even afford that. You better kill that quickly, Miles, because that Michael Jackson music, I can afford some stuff. You play that too long, and when the bill comes in, I'm like, man, we played too much Michael Jackson. I couldn't afford it. I am delighted that you hear her voice already in the background. I am delighted to welcome into the studio the brilliant actress, the brilliant thespian, Sonequa Martin Green. And joining us on Zoom is David Ajala, best known as Michael Burham and Cleveland Booker, celebrating 10 years since their seminal series, Star Trek Discovery, started its long production journey in their latest projects, including Boston Blue, Law & Order. We'll get to that. But it was Star Trek Discovery that premiered on September 24th, over a decade ago now. And I thought I'd just look back a few years at this relationship with these two black folk in this series and what that did for black love and everything else. We can talk about it in this hour. Before I jump into the conversation, though, here's some sound from that series, Star Trek Discovery.
I just want to say thank you. This mission helped me find my way. I feel hope again. And as of yesterday, my sentence is commuted.
I heard. What's next?
You know, Grudge and I are still figuring it out. Future's still a bit of a scary word.
future is a scary word for me, too. But you're here. You're alive. That's more than a lot of people have. I'm lucky. And I'm grateful. I was gonna wait until after the reception, but we're here now. And you should know. I never stopped.
You love me.
I love you.
I love you too. Possibly since the moment we met.
You were annoying as hell back then.
And you still love me.
I did.
Sonequa Martin Green, this is a long way from Russellville, Alabama.
Hey. It really is, but it's also, I don't know. I'll always be in Russellville in a lot of ways.
I ain't mad about that. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you,
and
too.
Thank you for coming in studio. Here we are together again. It's been some time.
It has.
Well, as I said, it's a long way from Alabama, but here we are in somebody said LA stands for Lower Alabama.
Hey!
So here we are.
I'll take that.
Yeah, here we are anyway. David, good to have you. Sorry you can't join the party in studio, but it's good to hear your voice. How are you, sir?
No, sending so much love, Tavis. Great to speak with you and to be reconnected with
S-M-D-D-A. It's so good to hear your voice, brother.
I feel the love between the two of them already. I feel the love already. There are a couple of things. We'll get into this relationship and this love affair on screen and how many of us were so turned on by the notion that Black love did survive into the future.
Yes.
That we would be seeing there. Some of you know the story. I love telling this story. I've told it so many times about the time that Nichelle Nichols ran into Dr. King. We rehearsed that story again about why Dr. King convinced her when she was thinking about leaving that show, stay on Star Trek. Dr. King implored Nichelle Nichols not to leave that show. And his appeal essentially was that we need to see ourselves into the future. We got to see ourselves. And Nichelle Nichols was thinking about leaving Star Trek and was prepared to tell Gene Roddenberry on Monday after the weekend she made a decision to leave. She told Gene on Friday she was thinking about leaving. Gene said, don't do it now. Think about it over the weekend. Over the weekend, she bumps into Dr. King. Interestingly.
Exactly.
And Dr. King tells her, oh, don't you do that. Don't you do it. And so Nichelle stayed on the show. The rest is history. And there have been so many other African-Americans who've been in these Star Trek franchises since then. But it means something, I think, for us to see ourselves into the future. Certainly the notion of Black love. When we come forward, though, there's something about that clip that jumped out at me. And I wonder how well y'all were listening to it in this conversation and across the country right now. What jumped out at me in that clip was when somebody said that future is a scary word. I want to unpack that just for a second about Black people and this notion of future and why future for us can be such a scary word. We just spent a half hour talking about this brother Victor Glover, who is piloting Artemis II back to Earth this week. What's it mean in a moment like this to have a Black man who's piloting this spaceship for real, right? This ain't TV. This is real life. Right. He's piloting this thing. But this notion of future and Black people, I am a Black futurist. But for some people, that word future is a very scary word. That line jumped out at me in that clip. We're going to start unpacking that first and then go from there. You're listening to Sonequa Martin Green and David Ajala right now, and I'm glad about it on Tavis Smiley.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can we just talk?
Tavis Smiley.
You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavisTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavisTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by smart justice, because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no. So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Sonequa Martin Green and David Ajala, best known for their relationship over a decade ago on that seminal series Star Trek Discovery, and I just want to celebrate that. And I thought the timing of bringing them together now would be propitious, given everybody talking about this real-life brother, Victor Glover, who is piloting Artemis II back home later this week, Friday, I think they're expected to land. So this is a moment, I was saying to a guest earlier, Sonequa, that not to make you or that guest political, although he didn't mind, but we're in this moment where we have an administration that's running an anti-DEI agenda, running an anti-black agenda, and suggesting to the country in a variety of ways that you cannot be the most qualified and black for the job at the same time. And so into this moment steps this brother who's piloting this spaceship, which I just find funny. You can try all you want to deny our brilliance, to deny our excellence, but in a moment like this, people can see it.
Yeah.
And so it was an opportunity to talk about that last hour, and in this hour, the final hour of our show today, I thought I would invite you two in. So I'm glad that you and David could actually show up. So thank you for your time. Let me jump, as I said earlier, to this that part of the clip that just jumped out at me. Future is a scary word. I'm giving you all the canvas you need to paint. I am boxing you in. Just talk to me about that notion as you see it.
Wow. Well, first of all, I know I can speak for David as well, that it means a lot to be here. So thank you for having us. Thank you for your time and everything that you've poured into us, right? I think that what those characters meant by it, what Michael Burnham meant by it, I even feel differently about now. At the time in the story, so much had happened. They had saved the universe again, and they were considering what life would look like building it together. And, you know, those near-death experiences, those times where everything is almost ruined and destroyed, and you come out of it, you're victorious, and you do it together. They always give you fresh perspective. And so what I meant as Burham at the time was that, future can be a scary word, because what does it hold? What challenges is it going to hold? Am I going to make it, or is it going to destroy me? And I can say as Sonequa, I think that's a big question that we have as Black folks. And I'm sure other people too, but it's like, is the future going to destroy me? I think it's the fear. And it certainly isn't in that story that we were telling. And I think because the two of them met each other so perfectly, they were so perfectly unified, that they could face the future together, and they could face it together with the hope that no, it's not going to destroy us, and it's certainly not, because we are facing it together. And I think that translates to now as well. And I believe that, if not for the love of Christ, what do I have? I have nothing. And so I know I won't be destroyed because I'm protected. But I don't know. I just covered quite a bit. You go, David. I gave you a lot.
No, I hear David. I hear you humming and amen. And so go on and run with it, Mr. Ajala.
Don't let SMG start speaking these words of power.
Yeah.
Things will shift. Just so you know, things will shift. Whether people are ready for it, it doesn't matter, because words of power will always land. Will always land. To think of the future and to be hopeful of the future can come at a cost. To fall in love, to desire love, to love on oneself, to love on a partner, it comes at a cost. And one of the poems which I hold so dearly is a poem by Erin Hansen. And it's very simple. It's the last two lines of the poem that I love the most. And there's two voices speaking. And the first voice says, "What if I fall?" And then the other voice says, "Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?" And for me, not to oversimplify things, but the power of love is knowing that there are obstacles ahead. There are challenges ahead. And anxiety creeps in because we're thinking about a future that has not been decided yet. And with the awareness of the things around you, to still choose love, to still choose kindness, for me, is a rebellious act of faith. And I'm a firm believer in that. And as I stand here, I say as I stand here, I'm sat on the couch. But I am here through love, because of the love of Christ, who's inspired me to have love for myself and to pour that out onto other people. Friends, families, strangers, it doesn't matter. So God help me, I will continue to pour into people's joy and not add to their stress.
Yeah. Without asking a single question of Sonequa or David, they both leaned in rather quickly into their faith. Quickly and obviously publicly, since it's a live radio program. There are some who are willing to do that in this industry. There are others who are not. So I'm going to ask you both individually. I'll start with you, Sonequa. Why so transparent? Why so open? Why so out front about your faith?
Tavis. What a great question. I've never been asked that question. I think, to put it simply and not to oversimplify, like David was just saying, it's because it is who I am. Who I am is whose I am. And if I were not to be transparent, then I would be inauthentic. And I I just heard a word, literally just yesterday, from a pastor named Myron Golden, and he said, that you should show up in life with people, with every encounter, with nothing to gain, nothing to lose, nothing to hide, nothing to prove. And
gain, lose, hide, or prove.
Yeah, nothing, right? And it was such a great way to describe what the love of Christ provides you, what the invitation of that is. But there were many years where I had everything to gain, everything to lose, everything to hide, everything to prove, And it was really just about trying to be this image of myself that I felt was what the industry wanted, what the audience wanted, what my family wanted, what my friends wanted, all of that. And so the closer I get to God, and the more I realize my full potential, the more I expose myself, because it's really about exposure. It's really about me, lifting the curtain so you can see, like, hey, this is who I really am, and this is what I have. This is who I belong to. Everything that I have is because I was given it, not because I deserved it or earned it. As hard as I've worked, I was given everything.
David, I want to ask you the same question. And again, I'm pressing on this because it is one thing. I mean, this is what I do for 30 plus years of my life, where I talk to people. It's one thing to ask a person.
And also, sorry, Tavis.
Yes.
Can I just say, yes, for 35 years plus.
Hey.
And along that journey.
Right,
your consistency.
Right.
Your way of always being able to find room to let your voice be heard and to create a platform for other people's voices to be heard. I salute you and celebrate you.
No, you're very kind. That means a great deal to me, and more importantly, it means a lot to my mama who's listening right now. So I appreciate all that. But I was about to say that it's one thing. It's one thing to ask someone about their faith and to wait for their answer. It is quite another to be in spaces like these where people don't have to do this, and they lean in before you even get a chance to ask about it, which says, I think, something profound about the person, that they are trying to be authentic. They are trying to be transparent. You ain't got to ask me. I'm going to tell you, because it's fundamentally who I am. It's like trying to hide my skin color, trying to hide my nose or my phenotype. I am who I am, and you're going to get all of me. If you agree to sit and talk to me, you're going to get me. And this is authentically part of who I am. But not everybody leans in that way, David. So Sonequa gave her answer about how and why she leans in that way. Why for David Ajala?
I think for me, like, it's an ongoing journey with which I'm thankful to have the patience to be able to be present from moment to moment, not dwelling too much on the past or thinking too much about the future, and just being very present. I think one thing that faith has kind of empowered me to do over the years is it's definitely increased my level of empathy towards people. And I say that in a very genuine, selfless way, because my capacity for empathy and patience, it feels like a very humble gift that I give back to the world, that I give back to individuals, because I really do believe that everyone needs a helper. And sometimes, not that I don't profess to have all the answers at all, but the power in just giving someone your ears for them to just speak. I try to be curious without being judgmental, and I practice what I preach as best I can. And I sit very peaceful in reaching people, meeting people where they're at.
I have had, Sonequa, this conversation with Denzel and I boxed together. Denzel Washington, D and I boxed together. So we've had.
Tavis, who's that?
I know, right? I was like, whoa.
No. Let me pick that name up I just dropped. Let me
love it.
Let me pick it up.
Here, I'll pick it up for you.
Yeah. I only raise it because I'm not trying to name drop. I raise it because D and I have had this. D and I have had this conversation many times over the course of our friendship over the years, and that is, and again, people in the last couple of years saw him be more public about his faith, and he got baptized, and everybody saw that. Everybody remembers that when Denzel did all that. And he chose to do that publicly, so that's a statement about him. But I've often wondered of D and people like Sonequa and David and others, how in an industry like this, your faith impacts your choices. How does your faith impact? Because you are a thespian, you're an actor. That's what you do. And yet, because that is a part of your DNA, I can only assume that, like everything else, your morals, your ethics, your values, your faith, all these things, your family, all these things impact, there are any number of things that impact the choices that actors make on any given day. So my question specifically now, Sonequa, is how, and I want to move past this in a moment, but I'm just fascinated by this since you and David got me started. Y'all went there. I'm just following y'all. So blame yourselves for this line of questioning. Blame yourselves for this line of questioning. But how does your faith impact your choices, your acting choices, Sonequa?
Thank you for that question. And for just giving us the space to talk about this and to be authentic with each other.
Yeah.
No, I have to be brutally honest with you, Mr. Tavis Smiley. It has changed.
Yeah.
It's changed over the years. I made different choices when I was younger, but again, the further I go along this path of faith, the more my choices are altered based on it. And I said to myself a few years ago that I was going to, do my best to not compromise. Compromise became a big word for me. And, that's based on what I feel I'm gleaning from prayer and the word and all of that. But I certainly say no a lot more.
Yeah.
Now. And I have to trust, and I do trust. I never worry. I never fear. I trust that I am where I'm supposed to be, and I am being led, and I am being guided. And so if I say no, and I say no to huge opportunities all the time because I feel that they would be compromising for me, I always trust that I am where I'm supposed to be, and I am headed where I'm supposed to be headed. And it's really like you said so beautifully, David, it's really about love. And it's really about making choices for love as well, and getting to a point where every choice I make is a choice I made in love. And so that's when I do say yes, and when I say no, and when I show up as well. It's like it's all about love. If I can become love and be it every moment in every way, that's the goal.
David, I got 60 seconds right now. We can continue, of course, when we come forward, but at least start your answer in 60 seconds about how your faith impacts your choices.
I feel like because it's such a transparent, open thing, which I'm navigating and understanding, I literally just go from moment to moment and from gig to gig. I have to be able to find something impactful that connects with my spirit that I can share through the character. That's always going to be important to me.
Nope, I get that. If you can't connect, I said to somebody the other day, I was speaking somewhere during the Q&A, I said to somebody that no matter what our work and or witness is, I've come to believe that we are at our best only when others can situate their humanity in what we're presenting. If others cannot situate their humanity in the work and witness that you are advancing, you're missing the mark some sort of way. And so I own that myself every single day, that I hope that the conversations that I'm up to curate allow people to situate their humanity in the moment. So, for example, I know there's somebody listening right now who just got excited about hearing Sonequa and David talk about how they show up, how they make decisions born of their faith. Because there are folk wrestling with these questions all the time. So the conversation ought to be one where people can situate their humanity in the discourse, in the dialogue. And that's what I hear David saying about the choices that he makes. He's got to connect to that humanity and that character and be able to bring that to the fore. I'm delighted to have them here. Well, David ain't here. David's over there. But he's here virtually. It's David Ajala. It's Sonequa Martin Green. We are celebrating Star Trek Discovery over a decade ago, and that love, that black love they put on screen for all of us to celebrate. But that was a decade ago. They both got a bunch of stuff they're working on right now, including Boston Blue and Law and Order. We'll talk about that and a great deal more with David and Sonequa when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Rapper Offset is still recovering in a Florida hospital after being shot at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino this week. He's listed in stable condition. 2 people were arrested, including rapper Lil TJ, on unrelated charges.
Did I shoot Wilson? It's crazy.
He's now bonded out of jail. Tickets for the Obama Presidential Center go on sale May 6th. The Southside Landmark opens June 19th on Juneteenth, with admission $30 for adults and discounts for kids ages 3 to 11. Entry is free for children 2 and under. Visitors are encouraged to book online in advance. And the man once convicted, then cleared in the killing of Jam Master Jay, could soon be free. A federal judge approved a $1 million bond for Carl Jordan Jr., though prosecutors are weighing an appeal as he faces separate drug charges. Jordan was originally convicted of killing Jam Master Jay in a narcotics deal gone south. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are now 0-3 without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. LeBron also did not play Tuesday night against Oklahoma City. He's got a sore foot. The absence of the Lakers' big three set up an easy win for OKC at Crypto.com, 123-87. A game like this, without LeBron, Doncic, and Reeves, should raise concerns among Lakers fans about the overall talent on the Lakers roster. The Clippers beat Dallas last night, 116-103, 34 points for Kawhi Leonard. UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma finally made a direct apology to South Carolina coach Dawn Staley. Auriemma called Staley late Tuesday afternoon to apologize for starting a heated confrontation between the two coaches after Friday's Final Four game in Phoenix. Auriemma released a generic apology on Saturday, but did not mention Staley's name in his statement. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Head to Waba Grill weekdays after 3 p.m. for their $5 happy hour and try their new chili crisp dumplings. Bold, crunchy, and toss in a fiery crisp paired with a premium Waba beverage drink like their authentic Thai tea. Get both for just $5 only at Waba Grill. It's for you.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Paid for by government.
The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. Guaranteed. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound. The first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
Every day on KBLA Talk 1580, it's like a live town hall meeting over the airwaves. Politics, culture, community, justice, nothing is off the table. We take more listener calls, spark more honest conversations, and challenge more assumptions than any talk station in Southern California. Because good ideas matter more than ideology. KBLA Talk 1580, your station, your voice, your city. Listen live at KBLA 1580 AM on our free KBLA 1580 app or on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive. Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
We thought that he was leaving us a message before he died by writing down the letters OSC on the car seat. But what if OSC is actually numbers 052, which is part of the incomplete passcode to his iPad? It's a theory.
Maybe. And the passcode has 8 digits, which means we only need the last 5.
I know what it is.
You do?
He loved Boston PD, right?
Yep.
He wanted to be one of us. So his code, 0526 1854.
What do those numbers mean?
So, if Connor was a super fan of the oldest and greatest police force in these here United States.
The greatest would be the NYPD.
Boston PD was founded May 26th, 1854.
Would you look at that?
And look at that. A video titled The St. Patrick's Day Parade Investigation.
I don't know how you two do it.
When my investigation first began, I had no idea it would lead to this. I mean, a terrorist attack against the St. Patrick's Day Parade. So this is huge. As soon as I complete tonight's surveillance, ID the suspects, I'll bring my findings to Superintendent Silver. This is the most important thing I've ever done in my life.
That's it? The most important thing he's ever done in his life? He hasn't told us one thing about the terrorist attacks or the mopes who planned it.
Well, they must have caught him snooping around, getting one of their plans. That's why they shot him.
Any credible terrorist threats in your security briefing?
We received dozens of threats, which is standard for an event like this, but each one was investigated and quickly ruled a hoax.
We can't do that here. Not with our sole witness lying in the morgue with 3 bullet holes. You know what this means, Sarah?
There's a credible threat against the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Yeah. And we got less than 48 hours to stop it.
Yeah, I love a great trailer.
I know, right?
that thing's got some energy on it. It's got some energy. Our guest in this hour are Sonequa Martin Green, David Ajala. We are celebrating 10 years since their seminal series, Star Trek Discovery, started its long run in production. We thought today would be, again, a propitious time to have this conversation, given that everybody's talking about a particular black man right now in outer space. But we are grateful to Sonequa and David for the characters they brought us that put black love on screen, reminded us that black love is enduring and will make its way into the future if there is one, no matter how scary that future might be. But since that time, they've done, both of them, obviously, some great work, and they're still doing great work, including Boston Blue. This is the Blue Bloods spinoff at Stars One, Sonequa Martin Green. Sonequa, talk to me about Boston Blue.
Oh, my goodness. So grateful for it. Like you said, it's the spinoff of Blue Bloods. It's a new It's a new chapter in this franchise. It's such a beloved one. Here I am again on another beloved franchise, doing a new iteration of it.
Look at God.
I'm telling you, look what he's
as my
doing.
big mama would say, look, baby, look at God.
Look at God. He's writing an amazing story. Yeah. We got to let him cook, right?
Yeah.
I got to keep letting him cook. But yes, it's the Silvers are the big law enforcement family in the city of Boston, and it's great because we're this multiracial, multicultural, multi-faith family. And our Ernie Hudson, just being able to work with him, being able to work with Gloria Rubin. You know, I mean, everybody, Marcus Scribner and Maggie Lawson and Mika Amundsen, I know how to nurture a show family, and it's happened yet again. It's lightning in a bottle in a lot of ways because we're so close and we love each other so dearly. Donnie Wahlberg, though, like when I tell you that man, he's a man of great faith, and he's an exemplary leader and such a sweet, giving, generous person. So it's been a great time, and this character, you know, I continue to play these strong, vulnerable women, and I've never played a cop before. Yeah. And I even when I was trying to figure out how to like use my Glock, I was like, see, I'm used to a phaser that only has stun and kill. Like, what is this magazine release? Like, what is happening? But it's been so amazing to be able to, play yet another woman who is heroic, who is sacrificial, who gives her life for the betterment of others. Yeah. That kind of honorable existence it fascinates me. People of honor. In real life, you know, like we were just talking about, you're a man of honor. And I'm moved by that. Yeah. I've been having a really, really good time. I could keep going, but David, you got to talk about, you know.
Yeah, hold on, David. I got some Law and Order, so I trust me. You in this too. Just 1 second here. I got a clip for you too. But I'm struck by those words you use, which seems to be. I mean, it can be read as an interesting duality. You said you are used to playing these strong and vulnerable characters. Yeah. I heard that, Sonequa. I heard that. You thought I missed that, didn't you? How does one do that? How do you play a character that is both strong and vulnerable?
Oh, great question. Thank you for asking. It's someone who is not afraid to lead with their heart. Yeah. And not afraid to connect, because I think there's varying degrees of a heart availability that we have. And I think when someone has their hearts all the way open, that's actually the strongest person.
I like that, heart availability. You dropping bars now. you dropping bars, Sonequa. Heart availability.
You know, and it's like, and that's true strength. Yeah. But it's vulnerable. Yeah. As well. When you open your heart to someone, obviously, you know, it's like, but that is true strength. Yeah. And that is how we show up and love someone where they are. That's how we make room for humanity, right? It's how we choose love and give love. So I have been able to play women like this, and that's Detective Lena Silver. It's this woman who is so capable and competent and powerful, ferocious, but also has this fragility because her heart is 100% open.
I love it. That's Boston Blue, starring Sonequa Martin Green. When we come forward, I got some Law and Order for you, and we'll let David Ajala talk about his project. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dominique DePrima from the show First Things First, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. Join me tomorrow with L.A. County Justice Care and Opportunities Department Director, Judge Songhai Armstead. Plus, we'll have headlines, hot topics, and your phone calls. It's a Think Tank Thursday, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Every day on KBLA Talk 1580, it's like a live town hall meeting over the airwaves. Politics, culture, community, justice, nothing is off the table. We take more listener calls, spark more honest conversations, and challenge more assumptions than any talk station in Southern California. Because good ideas matter more than ideology. KBLA Talk 1580, your station, your voice, your city. Listen live at KBLA 1580 AM on our free KBLA 1580 app or on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast!
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do? My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Sonequa Martin Green and David Ajala. We just gave Sonequa Martin Green some love on her work on Boston Blue. Let's give David Ajala some love on his work on Law and Order. Miles, give me that clip.
Ooh,
damn.
Ooh. Yeah, it's pretty ripe. You're gonna want this. Helps hide the smell.
Yeah, I'm good with that, though. I'm good, too.
Lock was flipped.
The door to the exterior was pried open, too.
Ugh. All right. Female, from the looks of it.
Not a very tall one if she can fit inside this suitcase.
No, definitely on the shorter side. Didn't find any ID. Based on decomposition and the amount of accumulated dust, I'd say she's been down here a long time. Like months, not weeks.
Jesus, somebody just left her down here to rot.
I can't take this no more, man. Give me the smell stuff. I changed my mind. Thank you.
I heard Sonequa a moment ago, David, as did you say, up until Boston Blue, she never played a cop. It occurs to me that both of y'all Negroes are playing cops. I hadn't really put that together until just now. But talk to me, David Ajala, about Law and Order.
It's wild because, like, you know, like the fact that Sonequa and myself are playing cops in like different parts of America, it is just it's wild and beautiful at the same time. You know, when Sonequa wins, when she wins, her family wins, I win too. You know, and just see. It just makes me laugh because it is so very, very wonderful. But I will say, like, working on Law and Order and playing a detective, it's funny because I don't say this in a slight or to be self-deprecating, but I'm an individual that doesn't entirely take myself too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I'm playing a detective, it always makes me chuckle. But I have to say, joining the franchise, I've been met with so much kindness, love, and support.
Yeah.
It's been so very, very great.
Yeah,
to be able to have the freedom that I have.
I wanted to ask you about that, David. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I want to ask you about that.
No,
what is it like when you are given the invitation to join a franchise like Law and Order, man?
You've done it again.
You know what's really interesting? Sorry, Sonequa, go for it.
No, I just said you've done it again.
I know, like it's just it's wild how we've both done this, and like I don't per se like try and carve out specific kind of career moves.
Mm-hmm.
I really do just pursue the character. So I'll just take you back a little bit, both of you and the viewers who are listening. 2024, I did a TV series for MGM Plus. Straight after that, I had a few weeks off, and then I did a Netflix movie with Keira Knightley and Guy Pearce, which was so cool, because they had, for the specific role that I played in the movie, and I could say this, Netflix wanted a really big name for this role. They just wanted a really big name. But the director, and I don't think I mentioned this to you, Sonequa, the director, Simon Stone, who has definitely shown himself to be an advocate for myself, he saw Star Trek Discovery. He watched the first episode, Sonequa, that we had together. And I kid you not, after watching that episode, he was like, that's my guy. Literally.
Look at that. See?
And then he, like, you can't make this up. Literally, he's like, that's my guy. And then I went through the process, but it was a very low-key process where they're only seeing like maybe 3 actors for this role. And then it worked out in my favor, which was incredible. And then off the back of that, I did a play. And I was happy to take some downtime just to kind of have a bit of respite and then regroup. And then I got a call from my team saying that Law & Order, and specifically Dick Wolf, they're looking for this new detective. And my team at CAA have been having conversations with the guys at Law & Order, and they kind of wanted to bring me to the forefront of the conversation. So they flew me out to New York. I spoke with Dick Wolf, with Peter Jankowski, Rick Eade. These are the producers on the show, and then Jonathan, one of the casting directors. And we had a few conversations very specifically about the nature of this character. And then after, I won't divulge too much, but it was just really, really creatively stimulative. And then I flew back to London, and then I spoke to my team the day after. They wanted me to digest it and to process it. And then they were like, right, David, well, if you're interested, because they thought the meeting went really, really well, and they loved what you did, and this, that, and the third, they said that you're their guy.
I love a story like that. I'm laughing, though. I'm watching my clock here. I'm laughing, thinking that if I ever have to tussle with a cop, I hope it's a Christian cop, like Sonequa or David. Because I'm just going to say, how about you not arrest me? Can't we just pray?
Yeah,
can't we just have a word of prayer?
How about you just forgive me?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Just have a word of prayer, forgive me, and let a brother go. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya, guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: skills first hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Sonequa Martin, and David Ajala. I got a tight 4 minutes left here in this program, so let me see if I can get out of here. Okay. I think I want to close with this as the exit question. We started here, and I want to close here, talking about your relationship, this black love in Star Trek Discovery a decade ago. You heard David tell a story a moment ago about how he ended up getting this job because the guy saw you guys on the first episode. My question is very simply, what is the enduring legacy of your work together on Star Trek Discovery?
Well, you know what? In 4 minutes, I'll take about 30 seconds. I think it is very much that. I think it is very much the power of black love. I think it's also the authenticity of it, because it wasn't something that we had to discuss. We were just able to authentically be. We made each other better. We were the classic, like, iron sharpening iron. Mutual respect, mutual giftings. We you know, it's that famous adage of, like, you make me want to be a better man. They both. He made her want to be a better woman, and she made him want to be a better man. And I think seeing that in a black couple is so huge, because it's not just about seeing ourselves, it's seeing ourselves at our greatest potential. That's right. And I think that that's what you see with these two capable, competent, brilliant black people that love each other for who they are. And what you see in the finale, you see us years and years and years later. We were so thrilled to be able to do that. As an elderly couple, they've sustained, and now their son is a captain and carrying on that legacy. It meant so much to be able to do that in the Trek franchise, in Star Trek Discovery. And I loved working with my brother. I tell you, he leads with joy. And I love that you're going to get to do that on Law and Order, brother, because you do it everywhere, and I learned a lot from him because of that. So
she left you 90 seconds, David. Take it and run with it.
Listen, it's an absolute joy. You know, many times when Sonequa and myself would like rehearse a scene, or you know, we're acting out a scene or whatever, we rarely spoke about character development and whatnot. And it's not to say that we were avoiding it, but it just, I think there was just the trust, and the synergy there that allowed us to authentically be the best versions of ourselves. These two, just piggybacking off what Sonequa was saying, iron absolutely does sharpen iron. Cleveland Booker is a better man because of Michael Burnham. And I've said this before, behind every great woman, not just Sonequa Martin Green, but also Michael Burnham, is herself. And I love the fact that this man, Cleveland Booker, could stand to the side and let his partner, his soulmate, lead from the front.
I love it. Two beautiful spirits. I figured this would be a good conversation. It's been gooder than I thought it was going to be. And I'm delighted to have had the opportunity to talk to both of them simultaneously. David Ajala, thank you for your work and your witness. And I'm honored to have had you on this program, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bless you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Absolute joy.
Thank you, sir. And Sonequa Martin Green, how honored am I that you came in studio. Drove all the way from way out there. I'm just going to say way out there. All the way over here to come in studio to see me. So thank you.
The honor is mine. It means a lot to be here. Thank you.
I mentioned to you privately, I'm going to say publicly, I love that movie Sarah Zorro with you and your husband.
Oh, thank you so much.
Love the film. And so just keep doing the great work you're doing. And God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Just like that, 3 hours are gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.